Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to start with you the first class in Introduction to Linguistics. At the beginning, as you see, it's so important to see that linguistics is a field of study that has many branches of study and fields of study. So we have phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics, second language acquisition, discourse analysis, applied linguistics with its fields like sociolinguistics and psycholinguistics, and lexicography. So we're going to see what is the meaning of linguistics at the beginning and what is the meaning of every single field of study in linguistics. At the beginning, it's useful to see that language, if we are talking about any language in the world, whether we're talking about the first language or the second language, I mean the mother tongue or any language that we learn after the mother tongue. So what we mean by are the linguistics, the literature, and the translation. These are the three sections of any language in the world. So linguistics is one part of any language. So let us start by seeing what is the meaning of a language. It is defined as a structured system of communication used by humans based on speech and gesture, sign, or often writing. The structure of language is its grammar, and the three components are its vocabulary. So language is a structured system of communication. So it means that we have rules, we have grammar, we have a huge system of vocabulary, of syntax, and of sounds. And it is used by humans. It can't be used by animals, for example. This means that once we say language, so we mean by speech, gesture, signs, and writing. So we mean the ways of communication, whether we are talking about the verbal ones, like the writing, or the non-verbal ones, like signs and gestures. So we will start the studying of the language by seeing what is the meaning of linguistics. So it is defined as the scientific study of language. It involves an analysis of language form, language meaning, and language in context. So when we say linguistics, it means that I have to analyze the language. I have to analyze it based on its form and the meanings of the vocabularies. This is a part of the study in linguistics, or the context. So what is around the word? What is around the grammar? What is around the rules? What rules do we apply in sounds? And so and so. So this is an umbrella expression that includes under it many fields of study. And these fields of study are defined here. These fields of study, just to remind you, are mentioned here at the beginning, this structure. So once we say linguistics, so we mean by these fields of study. In this page, we have the fields of study with a brief definition for every one of it. These definitions will be back to in the coming classes. So once we start to study phonetics, so we're going to define it in details. But here we will be satisfied with this brief definition that phonetics means the study of sounds and articulation of speech. We will see what is the meaning of sounds and the difference between sounds and letters, and what is the meaning of articulation and production for the sounds. So, but now it's enough to say, or you will be satisfied by this definition to see that phonetics means the study of sounds and articulation of speech. This will be, as I've told you, this will be discussed later on in the coming class. Then we have a good definition for phonology. So it is a branch of linguistics that concerns with the systematic organization of sounds in languages, analyzing the sounds into syllables and patterns. So we're going to see what is the meaning of syllables and how to divide syllables and so on. Then we will see what is the meaning of morphology, syntax, discourse analysis, semantics, pragmatics, second language acquisition with all its parts, lexicography, and the applied linguistics. So every single field of linguistics will be discussed in details in the coming classes. But for now, we're just to introduce you with these expressions. Now, the second part of this class is that to differentiate between language that is written with a capital letter and language that is written with a small letter. This is when we read these words in grammatical books or in any linguistics book. So once we read a language, I mean the word language with a capital L, so it is used by linguists like Chomsky. It means the part of the brain that allows humans to speak. So it means our ability as human beings to communicate, our ability to speak. So human language capacity. So capacity means our ability to communicate and speak. So this is the meaning of language. But when it is used with lowercase l, so we are writing language with the small l, so it means the application of this capacity, so that we have French language, English language, Chinese language, and so on. So if I mean the languages all around the world with all its countries, so we will write the word with lowercase l. But if we mean by the capacity of the human beings to speak, or the ability of the human beings to speak, so we will write it with a capital L. Then we have to move to the skills of a language. And actually, we're talking about any language in the world, whether we're talking about the mother tongue language or any other language that we learn. Once we say skills of a language, we mean by 4 skills, and these skills here are ordered systematically, starting from the first skill that we acquire once we are babies. So we are talking about babies starting from the very beginning of their life. So we will start by listening. This is the first skill that any human being acquire through the language. So anyone can listen to many things. He can listen to sounds, to words, to expressions, even if this baby can't understand what do they mean. Then after listening, he will start to, or he will try to imitate what he listens to. So he will start to speak. But this speaking at the beginning will not be very clear or very understood. So, but he will try to imitate what he listens to. Then when he reaches the age to attend a school, so he will start to read. He will read some letters, he will see some pictures, he will read some words or some simple sentences, and after that he will try to imitate what he reads by writing something similar. So he will start to write some letters or some words, and then he will try to write some sentences, and by the end, when he reaches maybe 15 or 16 years old, so he will get the ability to write a paragraph or a number of sentences. So by the end, we can say that the skill of writing will be the last skill that human beings acquire. Maybe it is the hardest one, but it can be acquired, and it can be he can be successful by writing something. Now let's see what aspects of a language regarding these skills. Once we say, before going through these aspects, it's good to know that listening and reading, actually once we listen or read something, so we are receiving some information from outside our bodies. So we are receiving information, we are receiving data from people around us. This means that listening and reading are called receptive skills because we receive something from people around us. But actually, once I am speaking, so I am producing something. Once I am writing, also I am producing something, or I am expressing something. So once I say speaking and writing, I can say that these skills are productive, or as it is written here, they are expressive because I am expressing myself by speaking or by writing, or I'm expressing my emotions, my feelings towards something, or my opinions. So again and again, we can say that listening and reading are receptive skills, whereas speaking and writing are expressive or productive skills. And this leads us to the aspects of language here. That is, we can say that the aspects of language are receptive, expressive, and pragmatic. Pragmatic, this includes the ways of communication that we will see after some seconds. Now, receptive as an aspect of a language means that the infant understands what the infant understands from the language of others. So he is just listening, or after 3 or 4 years, he is just reading. So I can understand from what I listen from my parents or the relatives around us. I can understand that I have, for example, to drink water or to eat something or to close a door, and so and so. I can understand from reading the letters or some words that this word is for this picture, for example. This is regarding the infants or the babies in kindergartens or in elementary schools. So this is the meaning of receptives. What infants or what babies or what children understand from the language of others. Once we say expressive or productive, as I mentioned before here in the skills of the language, it means how babies communicate with others through increasingly sophisticated speech and expanded vocabulary. In this level, let's say, of course, what we mean by expressive are speaking and writing. So what we mean by here is that the babies or the human beings start to imitate what they listen to by speaking. So he listens to the word dad or mom at the beginning. So he will start to speak that or to say dad and mom. Then in expressive, he's starting to write. So the baby starts to read the words of dad and mom and door, for example, or pen, pencil, and so on. So he will start to write them at the beginning. So he is expressive, his opinions or ideas in writing. Now, in pragmatics, what we mean by are the ways of communication. The ways of communication actually are either to be non-verbal or verbal ways of communication. Now, when we say non-verbal way of communication, it means that I can communicate with anybody or to express my ideas or to express my opinions or my feelings. And so I can express that by anything rather than by speaking. So I can express that by facial expressions. I can say that I am happy by making a smile on my face. I can say that I am angry by making my face to be angry or to be sad or to be confused. I can express my ideas also by body movements or body language, by waving or by moving my hands, by moving my legs, by moving my head, and so on, by my tone. If I raise my tone or make it low. So when I raise my tone, so it means that I am angry, for example. If I make it low, it means that I am happy or calm. Volume is the same. Inflection, ideas about when to speak and for how long. So if the way that I am talking to my friends will be almost different from the way that I speak to my colleagues or to my partners and so on. So these additions are the amplifiers and finite tuners of communication. They help infants and all of us to better express what we mean and to understand what others are telling us. Now, the verbal ways to communicate, what do you mean by are the writing ways or the written ways? So, or the speaking ways as well. So, verbal in writing, not in speaking, drawings and pictures in advertisements, like this is just an example. So, what we mean by could be just to when you are writing letters or when you're writing messages, or even if you are talking to somebody by using just pure language to express your ideas. Okay, now let's move to the last section in this class, which is what are the characteristics of a language? Actually, the characteristics of a language are many, but we will discuss some of them. Here I've mentioned in detail 7, and 4 will be mentioned just like mentioning. So we will start by saying that language is arbitrary. Language is arbitrary in the sense that there is no inherent relation between the words of a language and their meanings or the ideas conveyed by them. So there is no relation between the word table and the object it expresses. I mean, the way or the shape of the table, that it has 4 legs and a surface, for example. It is made of wood or it is made of iron. And the word table. There is no relation, no inherent relation between the word itself and the object. So this is the meaning of arbitrary. There is no reason why female adult human being called a woman, for example, in English, or Orat in Urdu, or Zen in Persian, and famine in French. The choice of a word selected to mean a particular thing or idea is purely arbitrary, but once the word is selected for a particular referent, it comes to say as such. It may be noted that had language not been arbitrary, there would have been only one language in the world. So this is the meaning of arbitrary. If there were relations between the objects around us or any word around us with the shape of the word, so that we can find a universal language that is applied all over the world by all humans. But this is actually not applicable, or this is not found in the world. Because of that, we find, for example, French language that's almost different from English, that is different from Arabic, and so and so. Okay. Then it is said that language is social. Language is a set of conventional communicative signals used by humans for communication in a community. Language, in this sense, is a position of a social group comprising an disciplinable set of rules which permit its members to relate to each other, to interact with each other, and to cooperate with each other. It is a social institution. Language exists in society. It is a means of nourishing and developing culture and establishing human relations. So once we say language is social, it means that it is found in a society, it is used by the members of the society, and it is developed, or it is created, or it is shaped because of the culture of these people in this society. So this is the meaning of language is social. So, for example, the word, Assalamu alaikum, will be developed because of the changes happened in the culture. So at the beginning in the Jordanian society, many years ago, we just were using the word Assalamu alaikum. Then we start to use marhaba. And this word is derived from other cultures around us. Then we start to communicate by saying, for example, good morning, good afternoon, good night, good evening. So these ways of communicate are changed because of the changes or the interaction between the cultures and between the members of one society. The third characteristic of a language is that language is symbolic. The word symbolic is derived from the word symbol. Language consists of various sound symbols and their graphological counterparts that are employed to denote some objects, occurrences, or meaning. These symbols are arbitrarily chosen and conventionally accepted and employed. Words in a language are not mere signs or figures, but symbols of meaning. So we have like sometimes we have some pictures that we use all over the world. For example, the picture regarding a heart, especially if the heart is colored with red. So this indicates love. Once we have the tears, it means we symbol by sadness. So in language, whether we're talking about the verbal ways to communicate or the non-verbal ways to communicate, we have some symbols, and these symbols are known by all over the world, by people all over the world. Then it is said that language is systematic. Although language is symbolic, yet its symbols are arranged in a particular system. All languages have their system of arrangements. Every language is a system of systems. All languages have phonological, grammatical system, and within a system, there are several subsystems. For example, within a grammatical system, we have morphological and syntactic systems, and within these two subsystems, we have systems such as those of plural, mood, aspect, or tense, and so and so. So once we say language is systematic, it means that a language is a system of many other fields. So in a language, we find phonetics, phonology, syntax, grammar, and in every field of these systems, we find another systems. So in syntax, we can find, for example, a grammar, rules, divisions, and so and so. In a grammar, we find many other systems. So a language is structured. Language is with many structures and systems. Language is vocal. Language is primarily made up of vocal sounds only produced by physiological articulatory mechanism in the human body. Actually, we're going to focus on this particular characteristic in phonetics. It will be discussed with more details. In the beginning, it appeared as vocal sounds only. Writing came much later as an intelligent attempt to represent vocal sounds. Writing is only the graphic representation of the sounds of the language. So the linguists say the speech is primary. So language is vocal. It means that the best way that we communicate by in a language is just to speak. So this is the easiest and the fastest way to communicate between people, and the easiest way just to deliver an idea. So that we have vocal folds, or we have vocal sounds. These sounds are put with each other regarding some rules, the grammar, so that we have some rules for pronunciation, we have some aspects for pronunciation, and that we can say language is vocal. So we can communicate with each other by speaking. This is number one. Then we can communicate by some other ways, like by drawing, signs, gestures, movements. Language is non-instinctive, conventional. No language was created in a day out of mutually agreed upon formally by a group of humans. Language is the outcome of evolution and convention. Each generation transmits this conversation to the next. So like all human institution, languages also change and die. So this is so clear when we see some languages that were created many years ago or many centuries ago, and then they died because the people they use that language die. So language can't be created in one day and night. This is number one. This is the meaning of instinctive, non-instinctive, and conventional. And number two is that once the speakers of this language are not existed anymore because of a natural catastrophe or crisis or something like that, so that the language will die. And it is written here, nobody gets a language inherited, okay, as we mentioned before. He acquires it because he is an innate ability. Okay, the last one is that language is productive and creative. Language has creativity and productivity. The structural elements of human language can be combined to produce new utterances, which neither the speaker nor his hearers may ever have made or heard before any listeners, yet which both sides understand without difficulty. Language changes according to the needs of the society. Okay, so this means 2 points. At the beginning, language is productive. It means that we use the language just to express and produce some ideas, or to express our feelings, emotions, opinions, and so on. Creative, it means that the language can be changed a year after year because of the cultural interaction between people. So once we have new groups that enter the society, so that new expressions or new ways to communicate will appear. And this happens because of the interactions between cultures. Finally, we have some other characteristics for the language, like duality. It means that two systems of the sounds and meaning. It means that all systems of the language are connected with each other. Displacement, it means the ability to take across time and space. So we can communicate through social media websites or through the headphones. And so humanness, it means that animals can't acquire our language. And universality, which refers to the equilibrium across humanity on linguistic grounds. It means all human beings, in their minds, there is a part or a number of settings that allow them to acquire the language. This is the end of the first class that introduces what is the language and what is linguistics and the parts of linguistics or the fields that linguistics are referred to. I will meet you next time. Goodbye.